There's a new man in number 10 today. What difference is that going to make to us? Welcome back to When the Fuck Did I Become Old, the fun, edgy and unapologetically honest podcast about the experiences of aging, where, as the title suggests, nothing is off the table. And I'm your host, Joe Parker.
I'm Kev, and we're going to be looking at Andy Burnham, the new man in number 10, and whether or not it makes any difference to our lives at all, we think, and see how that goes.
So just to point out, this is being filmed on Monday, the 20th of July, which is the day he takes office and the day Keir Starmer leaves office. So it's a bit of real time for us, but by the time we launch this on the Friday, the 24th, that it might be a little bit of passé and a bit of history. But we don't really know exactly what he's going to do. You might know more on the day this comes out. But at the moment, we do know he's going to try and work from home from Manchester in half the week for his new number 10 in the North Office.
That's right. And our 7th Prime Minister in 10 years, which in itself is a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah.
But as the new boy in the house, because he's only been an MP a number of weeks, he's going to have a new day in a new job. Day one. And his first day on the job is going to be a bit special. And from what I was reading in the papers over the weekend, it sounds very much to me like a bit of a James Bond scene.
What do you mean?
Not what you would normally expect for your first day on a new job.
So what do you mean, a James Bond scene?
So I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you about the countdown for his day today.
Okay.
And this involves a bunch of activities which you don't really think about when you're just knocking on doorsteps and asking people to repair potholes and trying to get local people to vote for you.
Which is what he did to get to be Prime Minister, isn't it? He didn't even go through an election. So
here you go. Here's a little bit of an insight into the schedule he will have been following today, which I got from the Sunday papers only yesterday.
Okay, so it must be true.
Must be. So this morning, 11:15, you start with the last goodbye, and that's where Keir Starmer gives his final speech in Downing Street to say goodbye before heading to Buckingham Palace and offering his resignation to Charles.
Right.
By 11:30, but for those of you who are old enough, by the way, to remember Boys in the Black Stuff and Yossa Hughes. Did you remember Yossa Hughes?
Yes, I do. I know
with
what you're
Geezer
say.
Job. So by 11:30, Burnham's in Geezer Job mode.
Right.
And he has to go to the palace, meet the king, and offer the king the opportunity to invite him to form the next government. At that point, he officially becomes Prime Minister when Charles says, I want you to form a new government. 12:40, he's off to the office. Right. So Andy has to get back to number 10 to give his first address, probably outside the front door, number 10, in the street, first address to the press as Britain's leader. Then he has to retreat into number 10. So by 1 o'clock, he's inside number 10. And his first job, he's probably been briefed about this, I imagine, is he's going to be given a security briefing. The first thing they do with an incoming Prime Minister, they give him a security briefing about current operations, military operations, terrorist threats, potential threats to the state and to his life. And they start discussing with him what a terrorist attack on number 10 would look like.
What?
On his
no
first
hellos.
day. No hellos, no. Get into it. Having then briefed him at lunchtime, they're then going to ask him, whoever the most senior naval commander in the situation room at the time, is going to then ask Andy Burnham to write 4 identical handwritten letters of last resort, which are then going to be put in top secret briefcases and given to each of the Trident submarine commanders.
Wow, okay.
Because he's now in charge of the nuclear deterrent.
Right, so this is what happens if...
Well, this is what happens if the government is attacked and wipes out in a nuclear attack.
Right.
So he'll have to write 4 of those at lunchtime, over a sandwich, I'm sure. And when he's written those, they bring the cases in, they open them up, get the last letter that was written by the last Prime Minister, Keir Starmer.
Sure.
They wheel a shredder into the room so that the shredding is observed. They shred the Keir Starmer letters. They put the Andy Burnham letters in the secure briefcases.
Lock them up.
Off they go to the Trident submarine commanders.
Wow.
And then when he's done that, they're going to ask him this afternoon before tea, they're going to ask him, can you please draw up a shortlist, Andy, of the most senior aides that you would want to join you in a nuclear bunker in the event of a nuclear attack? So he has to do that before 2:00.
Presumably that'll be people that he's chosen for his cabinet.
One would presume so.
Yeah.
Not that you know at that point
No,
in time.
obviously not, no.
2:00, he has to go to the Commons,
Right.
where he actually has to summon into his office in the Commons the cabinet ministers from Keir's cabinet that he wants to fire.
Wow. Okay, in front of everybody.
No, he's doing it in his
Oh,
office
it's private.
privately.
Okay, privately.
So he fires them at 2:00.
Yeah.
By 4:00, he's back at number 10, appointing their successors and announcing who the new ministers for trade, industry, health, etc. are going to be. So 4:00, it's new jobs for the new boys and girls. Yeah. 5:00, last thing in the sort of new boys roster for the day. 5:00, he finds out who's in charge of his life now. And he's going to be introduced behind the doors in number 10 to what they call the duty clerks, the garden room girls, and the manager of the Prime Minister's flat in number 10, who will be discussing with him the mechanics of his daily life, when he's going to have breakfast, what he's going to eat. And they're also going to talk to him about how they help him with his time management, splitting his time between Manchester and London.
And we read yesterday in the paper that the splitting the time between Manchester and London might not be as easy as Mr. Burnham seems to think it's going to be, because his house backs onto a public swimming pool or something. So therefore, keeping him safe in his house in Manchester is not necessarily going to be an easy thing. Whereas if you've got him Downing Street, if you're living in Downing Street and you're going to Chequers all the time.
Yeah, they did a security assessment of his house in Manchester, and they were like, no, that's not going to work.
Right.
You can't live there.
Yeah.
We can't make that secure. So when he sets up number 10 North, which he is allegedly doing in a GCHQ site.
Right. He's got
where he's going to live, not really cemented.
Not yet. So that all sounds really exciting for day one. A very James Bond, you're absolutely right. And of course, I hadn't realised that. I studied politics. Well, not politics. I did British Constitution as an O-level. So I didn't know that was all a part of the protocol. But so let's look at some of the things he says he's trying to do. And of course, by the time this goes out, he might have changed. It might all change because, as we know, with all the governments that we've had, everything is subject to some kind of change. So what are the things that he's said he's going to do this term?
So we'll get into those, but the background that he's coming into, which is not a particularly attractive background, is one where if you ignore the conflict in the Gulf, which in itself is a problem, he's inheriting a situation where the public finances are already stretched. Everybody's been moaning about cost of living for a very long time, so household budgets are under pressure. And so for him, whatever he chooses to do by way of policies, his barometer, so the Sunday papers are telling us, is essentially going to be, what does it mean to the man in the street? And if he can do things to improve the living standards of the man in the street, given that he's trying to sort of give rebirth to the Labour Party as an entire political movement, that's what he's going to be aiming to do, make people feel that for the average man in the street,
with an empty
and
pot.
do something to the north-south divide, Gulf. But yeah, as you said, with an empty pot. But before we get into that,
I want to ask you, I keep forgetting, but I want to ask you, please listen, share and follow the podcast. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple and all the other platforms. Thank you very much.
And then why don't you take us into the first thing that we think is going to do around the mansion tax?
Oh, yeah. So we've had some, having been in the estate agency business, and we've had the whole thing where Rachel Reeves threatened to do a mansion tax, to start the mansion tax. And then she threatened all sorts of things around stamp duty. And basically we waited from July to November last year to see what was going to happen. And it really slowed the market down. And then we had the whole sort of like Christmas, so nobody really bought anything. At the moment, mansion tax looks like it's going to be £2 million. That's £2 million you will start being charged an extra mansion tax. However, there are rumours that he might bring that mansion tax down to 1.5 mil. Is that right?
I believe so.
So if that's the case, that's 146,000 extra homes in the London area alone, and only 2,400 homes in Manchester. So already the Manchester or the north-south divide is definitely there in terms of the rich versus the poor, or the ones that are going to be taxed more versus the ones that don't fall into that tax. And it's James Cleverly who says, we're in danger, or Labour are in danger, with Andy Burnham now at the helm, of treating the middle class as well as our ATMs. And we're going to get cash from them to support everything else, which is we're now in this whole position where it's going to slow the market down again.
Was the mansion tax meant to come in like next April? Then?
2027.
So April 27.
Yeah.
Right. And so how was that going to work? Is that just on point
So
of
it was
sale,
going to be
or-
valued. It was going to be valued. Every house was going to have a valuation between
Right.
then and then. So when November and before the mansion tax is due out in 2027. It was going to be this year, 2026, where your house is valued. So I had some houses on the market for 2.25.
But when would you pay it every year, or you just pay it when you sell?
You pay.
Or when you buy?
It's an annual fee.
It's an annual thing.
It's an annual fee.
So it's like in addition to council tax.
Yes. So it's two. Okay. No, I can't remember now. Hang on just a second.
Okay, so
it's £2,500 a year for any house worth 2 million.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
it's £7,500 for 5 million plus.
Okay.
Every year.
Okay.
So what was happening was that I had I had three houses on at 2.25 mil, and I sold two of them at 1.95 and one of them at 1.85 because nobody wants to buy a house at this particular time for 2 million. I mean, because the mansion tax. Okay. So if you've got the 1.5 mil, that's going to bring the marketplace down even further, and the value of your home is going to be worth less.
Be tough.
It's going to be really tough.
Because up to 1.5 mil, a lot of people, most people actually, still mortgaged.
Yes, at 1.5 mil they are mortgaged.
So if you give them another bill of a couple of grand a year, that's pretty tough to hit.
Yeah.
Okay,
so he's also looking at scrapping inheritance tax completely. So the figures that I've got here, that the Treasury raises £9 billion a year from inheritance tax, which is only paid from those with estates worth £325,000. Now there are caveats to that, because you are allowed a house tax of, you're allowed if your house is worth, you're allowed £175,000 tax relief on a house worth under £1 million. Is that right?
Yeah.
So if there are two of you, then you've got that twice. And if there are two of you and you've done your wills properly, you've got the £325,000. So you can actually get away with £1 million.
Yeah, for a married couple.
For a married couple with both own that same house. The tax is paid by about 4 to 5% of all UK estates. So it's not coming from a lot of places. But anything above the threshold is taxed at 40%.
Which is pretty heavy.
Yeah. And of course, as we all know, April 2027, Rachel Reeves has decided she's going to put the pension into the tax, into the IHT as well. So, but he's going to scrap inheritance tax altogether. That's going to be an interesting thing.
Yes, depending on what he replaces it with.
Yeah, depending on what he replaces it with.
And I mean, although those numbers sound quite big, right, in terms of like the threshold that you'd have to, in actual fact, a lot of people, particularly in the southeast and in London, you're into that bracket straight away.
Because your house is worth over £1 million, yeah.
So, so even though I'm not planning on leaving a load of cash or anything behind for my what do you call my beneficiaries? That's it.
Your kids, basically.
I'd still be caught in that top 4 to 5% bracket, which doesn't really excite me. And depending on how draconian those tax rates get and what they do with the thresholds, we have even discussed whether or not we would do like a last ditch marriage, wouldn't we, on my deathbed, to try and avoid the IHT and go, shit.
Yeah, we have discussed that. It's so romantic. But
just to avoid the kids getting clobbered with a very large tax bill.
Absolutely. Or me getting clobbered with a very large tax bill.
You,
but it's also, and then we have the whole, are you compos mentis when you do it? But yeah, there are very few ways of avoiding the inheritance tax at the moment. So if Andy Burnham comes up with something that seems to be fairer, that would be lovely.
And they had talked about the social care levy.
Yeah,
as
so
being
he
one
had
option.
he talked about that, but actually I don't really understand that. So scrap the inheritance tax and do a health and social care levy. What does he? Do you know what that is?
Not really.
No.
Other than some other way of having a big lump sum payment of some sort that you'd have to make. I don't know the basis for that.
Yeah.
Or exactly how it would work. And therefore whether we'd be better off or worse off, I don't know.
Yeah. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on all of that and see what happens.
Fair enough.
Absolutely. So is he going to change income tax? Because currently we're at what, £12,750?
12,570 years.
Well, I told the other way around, 12,770
allowance
until 2013. So, I mean, basically, instead of it going 2031. Sorry, that's me having a dyslexic moment. 2031. But so basically, that means that even though the threshold isn't moving, it is less because we're supposed to be earning more.
Yeah,
So,
and inflation's gone up and
Absolutely.
cost of living's gone up,
Yeah, yeah.
etc. So there is talk about him moving that threshold upwards.
yeah.
Because to his point about I want to help people on lower
Yeah,
incomes, right?
yeah.
If he can push them out of
Having
the
to pay
income
tax
threshold,
yeah.
that's something he might do. Which once I'm a pensioner, I'd be interested in.
Yeah,
because then
sure.
the less income
Because
tax I have to
just
pay.
about pension level, isn't it?
Well, yeah, state pension is like a couple £100 different from that,
Yeah,
isn't it? Yeah.
absolutely. And then he's looking at a new wealth tax as well. So bash the rich vibe again, or bash the middle classes vibe. And I don't really understand how he's going to tax the wealthy and who is wealthy. Do you?
No, other than the fact that if we'll be in it. Because whatever threshold he defines, we're probably in it.
Yeah.
But there had been some gossip about the 50. He's been quoted in previous articles
Yeah.
about saying he wouldn't be against the idea of reintroducing a 50p rate of tax
So 50%
at the top end.
Yeah, yeah.
And the last time they did that, I was in the city working 2010. I remember when Gordon Brown did it. As like pretty much the last thing that government did before they were kicked out and David Cameron took over.
But we've already had a whole sort of tax thing with Rachel Reeves, and people have left the country in droves because now working from home, internet, AI, blah, 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 they don't need to be in the country to work. They can go and live in Dubai. They can go and work from another state. So why would they hang around for a 50%? I mean,
So I mean, hopefully they won't do that. But I mean, it's certainly not been mentioned in the manifesto. So that it's not in the Labour manifesto.
and he's also talked about reforming stamp duty and council tax, so removing them, but then doing some kind of tax.
Yeah. So I mean, that could be a complete overhaul.
Yeah, that could be, but I think it was rumoured that around about 1.5 million, your house being worth 1.5 mil again, you fall into paying more than you did pre this if it were to happen. So therefore he's got that, and that is that whole north-south divide again, because we've got the south in the south and the southeast. Your houses are worth more than they are in the north. So same size, you'll be paying a hell of a lot more tax in the south than you would be in the north. So even if you don't leave the country, move to the north.
Well, yeah, maybe he's trying to rebalance the geographical population.
Possibly.
Pensions, that's the next thing we need to worry about.
One. Yeah.
So let's have a look at what he may or may not do in the pension space. So let's start with the state pension.
Okay.
So he has publicly said he will support the triple lock.
Oh, good.
So he said, he's been quoted as saying he will support the triple lock, which for those who don't know what the triple lock is, it means that the state pension, which is, is around that £12,500 rough mark, your pension either rises by the rate of inflation or the rate of wage growth, or 2.5%.
Whichever is the highest.
Whichever is the higher.
Yeah.
Now, last year, that led to the state pension going up 4.6% because the growth in inflation has been quite high.
Because they're trying to stop pension poverty, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So he said he'll support that. Mm-hmm. Great. However, the OECD, the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, has already made statements to the government to say that the incoming government would be encouraged to reform this area because they think the level of state provision is too generous given the profile of the population and the fact that there are going to be more people over the age of 67 currently to receive pension. So he thinks that leaves the government open to quite an increase in expenditure to sustain the state pension over the next 15, 20 years. So we'll see what happens there. The pressure will also come from other economic institutions who are looking at GDP, looking at the burden of government spending and going, okay, I'm not quite sure you can balance that spend versus taxation argument. That's the state pension. On the private pension front, so the 25% tax-free cash withdrawal thing is
tax-free.
Yeah.
Sorry, you mumbled. Sorry,
tax-free. Yeah. so there's a provision currently where you can, if you have a private pension and you get to that pensionable age, you can withdraw
25%,
up to 25% of your
paying tax.
pension tax-free.
Okay.
Now, that's something which obviously is a bit of, let's say, a target for, where else could I increase tax that I haven't increased tax before?
Right.
You could do something with that. Now, there were rumours last year that Rachel Reeves was thinking of actually slashing it last autumn. It's currently set at 25% with a cap of £268,275. So that's the most you can take out.
Right.
She was looking at cutting that to £100,000. Didn't do it because it was hugely unpopular.
Yeah.
Hugely unpopular, and wasn't really going to result in the generation of that much revenue because there weren't enough people in the population with the pension pot big enough to make the tax you get back on that worth the trauma. So, I mean, that might change. There was another guy, there was a pensions minister last year, Torsten Bell, who suggested you go even steeper and you cut it from 268,000 to 40,000.
Wow.
Because he was trying to solve a fiscal shortfall of tens of billions. So we don't know what they're going to do there. The trouble is that when that whole debate opened up last autumn, individual private financial advisors, so IFAs, independent financial advisors, saw like an increase of like 58% with people taking cash withdrawals from their pension.
Taking their 25% out now.
Because they were kind of like, I don't know what's going to happen here, but I'll take it just in case.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But certainly with that bash the rich vibe, which is kind of, hidden.
Bash the middle classes, really, isn't it?
Hidden within his agenda. It's going to be hard to see how they don't make some sort of negative change there, but we'll see. Rising interest rates, coming on to that, so that the increase, the 4.6%.
But this is not related to Andy Burnham, though, is it?
But it's just an interesting observation in that space around pensions and around the impact of the cost of living. So at the moment, interest rates are going to move upwards. So the Bank of England's already given kind of a heads up that in September they're going to move the base rate.
And this is because of the Gulf and everything else that's going on.
That particular increase is driven by the Gulf and the increase in petrol prices and oil prices. So it's currently 3.75% base rate. Going to go to 4 in September. And then once they get the autumn budget, and this I suppose is the critical point, is that whatever the new government's going to do, you're not really going to know, right? Like not in pounds, shillings and pence until it's in the autumn budget. The autumn budget, paradoxically, by the way, not in the autumn.
Yeah, it's winter practically.
It's November. So, but anyway, as a result of the oil prices going up, etc., trouble in the Gulf, Bank of England's going, fine, we're going to go 3.75 to 4. They're then predicting that they'll, in response to the budget, they'll probably go up again in Q4, right? Now, that's had the effect of pushing mortgage deals up. Already. So 2-year fixes now are in the 4 to 5% range. They're probably going to go north of that, right? And why do I care about any of this? Because right now, I'm on a 5-year fix that expires in 6 weeks' time. So I'm on a 5-year fix at 1.04%, which is fantastic. And I love it. Absolutely love it. that's not great news in 6 weeks' time. So when I contacted my lender
Yeah.
to say, if I just go to a standard variable rate and I just like my fix ends and I just revert to your standard rate, what will you offer me?
What was it?
6.5%. So it's like, oh shit, right? Okay, so if I do nothing,
500% increase.
I've got a 500% increase in my mortgage payment.
So painful.
In 6 weeks' time.
No.
So that's pretty heavy shit. So consequently, I'm having to think pretty seriously about how can I get some funds together in the next 6 weeks that would enable me to pay off part of that mortgage, because a 5-fold increase in mortgage payments not really palatable, to be fair. Now, there is a good news story associated with that, bizarrely, on the other end of the...
But I know interest rates going up, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Which we read about only yesterday. In the
Oh,
paper.
that one. The annuities.
Yeah, the annuities, right. So because all the base rates are going up, annuities are also going up. So again, for pensioners, that's particularly of interest, right? Now, I've had pretty much no interest in annuities, even as a topic of conversation for the last 10 years, because post the financial crash, when interest rates sunk to pretty much zero, annuities were worthless, right? Because you got no return on
Can you
them
just
at all.
explain what an annuity is?
So it's kind of like a life insurance policy almost, right? So when you have a pension and you choose to retire, one of the things you can do is use the size of your pension pot, however big it is. You can buy an annuity with it, right? Which is you pay it to somebody else and they guarantee to you a return every year.
If you've got £1 million saved,
Yep.
that goes gross, not all the tax stuff that Rachel Reeves and stuff, that goes gross to your annuity, does it?
Yeah. Well, if you do a transfer
it,
to annuity provider.
Yeah.
But anyway, so consequently, the return rates that the annuities were offering were incredibly low because the interest rates were at the floor, right? Interest rates were incredibly low. So in the paper yesterday, they were saying Legal & General did some market research last week and said the average annuity being offered in the market last week to a 65-year-old man was 7.37%.
So go back to that £1 million.
Huge.
Yeah.
So if you have a £1 million pot, they're offering you £73.7 a year for life. Now you have to guarantee.
You only got his tax as well. But
obviously that gets you get taxed. So that's income. That's gross. You have to pay.
But
tax.
then
but nevertheless, that's just a massive return rate.
But then,
which we haven't seen for like more than a decade.
But that it dies with you. So you've given all your pension away.
Yes.
And then your wife.
Well, unless you can buy special annuities with death benefits.
Yeah.
But then you get a lower return rate. But not that we're financial advisors. So
not
providing
at all.
you with
you're going to go
advice.
and see your financial
But
advisor,
nevertheless, the fact that the annuity rate is getting so chunky.
You're now interested.
I'm now, okay, that's not as crap an idea as I used to think it was. So, so I am meeting my IFA in August to try and say, how do I solve this problem?
Yeah.
How do I deal with the mortgage?
Yeah.
What do I do with any of that stuff with my retirement pot and all that kind of stuff? So, but that's just, I've never seen an annuity rate like that. So it's like, you go, chunky.
But I mean, given that we don't know anything and given that we probably won't know anything properly until November when we've got, is it November, the autumn?
Yeah, I mean, the earliest they can do it is the last week of October.
Okay, so we're talking November, autumn budget. Then there is, we've got the don't panic, Mr. Mannering type thing, and don't really do anything in panic. That's probably the best thing to do, and get advice.
Because obviously all of this is rumour and conjecture,
yeah, absolutely.
Right? So
it will be for the next 6 months.
Yeah, 4 months.
August,
so
months.
So changes to tax thresholds, pension rules, ISA allowances.
That's also true.
CGT rates. I mean, they've played with ISA allowances a lot in the last few years, right? Yeah. There's also changes actually coming to the amount you can put in cash ISAs actually next year. So the whole 20 grand thing, they're going to cap it at 8, I think.
I heard that. Well, I heard it was going to be reduced.
8 grand for cash ISAs.
That could change.
You can put 12 in shares.
So it's literally don't do anything yet.
Yeah. So all of that, land value tax, the other thing they're talking about as part of the wealth thing, the social care levy that we don't understand anything about, all of that stuff. Until you've really got the nuts and bolts of the autumn budget in front of you, it would be somewhat premature to make any significant decisions. But if you're going to consult your IFA, feel free to do that. But you're going to have to do it a lot closer to the time, I think, because your degrees of freedom aren't really going to be known until the bones of that budget are published. So,
and then panic.
And then,
okay,
then
brilliant.
panic pre-Christmas.
Okay.
So that's a quick roundup of all the things that we could think of that may or may not, may or may not impact as a result of Andy Burnham walking through the door with the nuclear codes today.
Yeah.
And I think that's about it for this week. So we will be back next week with something completely different. Thanks very much for listening and watching and sharing with all your friends and family. Cheers.